Hi boys and girls, so for the purpose of this video we're going to be looking at the parts and functions of a plant. So here are the 5 main parts of a plant that we're going to be looking at today. Now you'll have heard of most of them and might even know the roles of them. So when you come to labelling your plants, if you do already know them, then this is going to be a super duper easy task for you. So at the top we've got the petal. We all know the petals, the nice colourful pretty parts of the plant. And at the very bottom we've got the roots, which we know grow under the ground. We've got the leaves and the stem, which you will be able to identify. And finally, and possibly the most tricky one on here, is the anther. So we're going to go through each of these and talk about what they do and why it's important for a plant that they have them. So we're going to start off with the leaf. The leaves make food for the plant from carbon dioxide in the air and sunlight. So it's really important that the leaves can get enough light because they go through that process that we talked about in our literacy lesson called photosynthesis, which is where they turn those things into a sort of energy, a sort of food for the plants. Not food, burger and chips and pizza like we might have, but the type of energy that a plant might need. So the leaves are really, really important for that purpose. Next, we've got the petals at the top of the plant. Now, they attract insects to the plant. So the brighter colours, you don't really see many brown and black flowers because these bright, colourful flowers and these petals will get the attention of any insects that want to come and visit the plant. So plants need insects to bring pollen they've collected from other flowers so they can make seeds. So they won't make seeds on their own. If they didn't get pollen from other plants and they didn't mix the pollen from plant to plant, they wouldn't be able to make seeds, which would then be dispersed, like in the tiny seed, and would grow somewhere else. So they want to attract the insects. The bee might land inside, be drinking the nectar, but the pollen will get stuck to the bee. The bee will fly off to a different flower and leave traces of that pollen behind, which will help to make new seeds in the future. Roots grow down into the ground and they absorb minerals and water from the soil. So they help take all the good things like we need. We need minerals and nutrients, all the good things that we get from our food. The plant finds this in the ground. It also helps to act as an anchor in the soil for the flower to stay upright. So if it had very, very small roots, then you might see a plant that sort of wobbles. And that's why you'll see a great big tree doesn't have tiny roots underneath. They spread out far and wide, which is what helps keep those great enormous trees standing upright. Then we've got the stem. Now the stem is responsible for transporting the water around the plant. So the water comes in through the roots, but the stem transports it all the way so that all parts of the plant are hydrated. But it also holds the plant upright so that it can get more sunlight. And you'll see, if you notice in the spring, I want you to be looking out for lots of patches of flowers. If you see a huge group where they're all together, all the plants will be trying to be the tallest plants so that they've got the most sunlight, the most access to the water that falls from the sky, and the most space. And the stem is responsible for making sure that they've got that. And finally, the anther. The anther contains the pollen. So they're these little bits. The most common flower I can think of with a very obvious anther are lilies, because sometimes you can get covered in the pollen because the anther is so huge. So as insects fly into the flower, the pollen brushes onto the insects, and then it's then moved from one flower to another by the insects that travel. So those are the 5 parts of a plant that we're looking at today. Now your challenge is to find and label any plant of your choosing, but I want you to be able to label at least all 5 of those things and explain the roles of those parts of the plant. Now you might paint the picture and label it, you might draw it, you might do a little video and be holding a plant and talk about it. You might find something in your garden. You can do it however you like, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I have attached some templates to our home learning for this week if you would rather do it that way. Poor luck!